Hello, everybody who's just joined the call today. Welcome to today's event. Today, what we're going to be discussing are the internships at Sky. We're going to be looking at the application process, but we're also going to be looking at all our internships. We're going to be running you through in detail of everything around those internships, what you might experience. We also have some ex-interns on the call who are going to cover their experiences. And then at the end, we are going to have a question and answer session. Now, if I can direct you down to the bottom right, or it might be the bottom left of your screen, you will see a questions tab or questions box. Feel free during the event to put your questions in that box, and we will then answer those at the end, and we'll go through those. I imagine a lot of you on the call will have similar questions, so please do fire questions in. They are more than welcome, and we will try and cover as much as we can. But first, I'm just going to introduce myself and then pass to my colleague Millie to introduce herself. We're going to be your hosts for today. So my name is Tom Farrow. I sit in the early careers team, and I look after various internships that you'll hear about today. So primarily those are our commercial, marketing, corporate affairs, and strategy internships. And I'm going to be running you through a little bit more about those internships and what to expect. Now just passing over to my colleague Millie, who will introduce herself.
Hi everybody, I'm Millie. I also sit obviously within the early careers team, and I look after the finance and data programs. I'm going to be running through the application process with you guys. So if I go on to the next slide. So I'm going to give you an overview at like a quick glance, and then I'll kind of go into each stage and give you a little bit more detail. Obviously, I can't give you too much or share too much information, as we want to keep it as fair as we can for all candidates. But yeah, we'll give you a bit of an insight into the applications. So if you're applying for any scheme that isn't finance, this is how your application process will look. So you'll start with a digital assessment. Then if you're successful on that, you'll move on to a job sim. If you're successful on that, you'll move on to an assessment centre. And then obviously, if you're successful on that, you'll be given an offer. But if you are applying for a finance internship, then your application will look a little bit different. So you'll do the same digital assessment, but this will be included with a numerical reasoning test. They're both combined into one. So it's just trying to get you through the process a little bit quicker, not waiting around. You'll do the job sim. And then if you're successful on all of those, you'll be invited to the assessment centre. And these will be in person this year, which is super exciting to see all of your faces again. It's been forever since we've always obviously done them virtually. So yeah, it'll be nice to see everybody face to face. And then again, offer if you're successful in the assessment centre. So the first stage you'll do is a digital assessment. This is called an online immersive assessment. I'm going to try and give you as much kind of hints and tips as I can, but obviously I can't share too much. But the online immersive assessment is basically, we'll give you different questions that relate to Sky and our customers, and we'd like to see how your brain ticks and how you'd answer those kind of questions. It's great because it gives you an insight into Sky, but then it also helps us understand your strengths and what kind of makes you tick, if that makes sense. The tips I'd give you for this is try and complete the assessments in one sitting if possible, just so you're kind of laser focused, and make sure you're reading the questions and you understand the role you've applied for. You're going to hear me say that over the next few slides about reading questions and kind of research and make sure you understand the role you've applied for. Each role is obviously completely different, and each kind of internship for any company is completely different. So please make sure you're doing your research, as there will obviously be questions. As I've mentioned before, if you are applying for finance, the numerical reasoning test is combined with the OIA. This is basically just to help us discover your kind of numerical ability. There's not much I can really share on this, obviously, try not to give anything away, but my advice to you would just be to practice as much as you can. There are loads of numerical reasoning tests online and on Google. Please do not pay for any tests. We do not expect that in the slightest. There are loads of free ones online. So yeah, my suggestion would just be to try and practice before you obviously take the main one. So if you're successful on the digital assessment or the NRT, you'd move on to the job simulation. So job sim takes more of an interactive approach compared to the OIA, so the first digital assessment. We will ask you scenarios or give you scenarios and questions, and we'd like to see how you would deal with that scenario. Like I said, it's a bit more interactive, so we'll ask you to pre-record some videos and answer your questions and kind of relay that back. So that's job sim. My tips for that is put your grad says grad there, but intern head on or hat on. It just basically means think outside the box as much as you can. Kind of don't think of answers that you think we want to hear. Answer as honestly and as authentically as you kind of can. And yeah, just try to think a little bit outside the box. And then my second thing is be prepared to respond quickly. Things really do change super quick at Sky. So yeah, we'd like to see how you kind of deal with that basically. And again, make sure you're doing your research that relates to the program that you've applied for. If you're successful on all of those 2 or 3 stages, you'll be invited to the assessment centre. So like I said, they'll all be kind of virtual except for finance. Again, can't share too much as they're all completely different, but it will essentially be digital assessments and video interviews. And you'll be in a big group with lots of candidates and assessors, and we try and make the day as fun as we can. Tips for this is be yourself, be confident. We want to see you as a genuine person, and I think that is the one thing we all kind of stand for, which I'm sure Tom will kind of go into a little bit next. But just be yourself and as confident as you really can. Read instructions, like I've said before, and throw yourself into the day. We, like I said, try to make them as fun as we can. And yeah, they're just always a quite nice day. So just throw yourself into it. We're not there to kind of trick you or throw curveballs at you. That's not the intention of the day at all. So yeah, just try and enjoy it as best as you can. Yeah, so that's all. I'm going to pass back over to Tom. If you have any questions on the application process, pop them in the questions box and we'll answer them a little bit later. So yeah, over to you, Tom. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Millie. So that was hopefully a really useful insight into the application process, what you might come across, and maybe a little bit of a tip of how to get to that dreaded assessment centre. But what we're going to look at next is what is a strength, and most probably what does actually Sky look at when assessing people. So Millie, if we can go to the next slide. Great. So strengths you may or may not have heard of, but what ultimately they are things we as a company look at when we do consider applicants, whether maybe you are the best fit for the role, whether you're the best fit for Sky, and actually whether Sky is the best fit for you, because that's really important. The last thing we would want is someone to be successful, but then not enjoy their time on the Sky internship programs. So touching on a strength is made up of 3 things: gifts, passion, and skills. Gifts are things that come naturally to you. So you might be someone who is naturally quite good at music. You maybe picked up a musical instrument and you found it quite easy compared to other people, maybe through school. A second thing that revolves around a strength of which we assess is a passion. A passion is something you love to do, you do all the time. It's not necessarily a gift, and that's the difference between a passion and a gift. It might be something that you've worked on. So for instance, maybe football's your passion, and you do that all the time. So ultimately you've become quite strong with regards to football knowledge, practicing football, all of that sort of things. And the third piece that revolves around strength is a skill. And a skill is something that you've acquired over time. And a skill can come from education, mentorship, on-the-job training. So you might be someone that is really interested in coding. You're not born with skills to code, but it's something you've learned over time. Maybe you've taken courses outside of work, or maybe through your education that has got you to a stage where you feel quite competent with coding. So that's what a strength is. If we can go to the next stage or next slide, Millie. why do we use strengths? So let's just hone in on that first box in the middle of the slide. We use strengths to assess future potential. Now that's really important throughout our early careers offerings. We don't expect you to be the finished article. That's not what this is about. It's about Sky saying, okay, this candidate has a lot of potential, and actually we could cultivate this candidate into a future leader of tomorrow. Okay, so it's something to bear in mind. We are looking at your potential, not necessarily your skills now, and that's why the Sky application process is as it is. We also use strengths just to form a more positive recruitment process. It focuses on what you can do rather than what you can't do. And to that first box, it is better for sort of all groups. Okay, it's Sky is very focused on fairness, on inclusion. It's part of Sky's policies throughout the company. And so this is really important, and we show this through our early careers offerings. Millie, if you can go to the next slide. Great. So now just taking a look inwardly, maybe at yourself. How can you spot a strength? Now, spotting a strength is quite a difficult thing to do and is not easy because when you look inwardly, it's quite hard to evaluate yourself, what you're good at, what maybe you're not so good at. But a strength is something where you feel really relaxed. You feel quite energized by doing about it. And also you feel passionate. There's lots of other things there. And I think also highlighting the last bit is a really good thing to do. Rich and detailed examples, it says on screen. Now that's really important when you go through this application process. The more examples you can bring, the better. And having those detailed and rich examples and having a plethora of those examples is really going to help you through the process, but also it might indicate that that is a strength of yours. Now, the opposite to that might be a weakness or something that you can improve. And a weakness could be defined as something maybe where you feel a little bit uncomfortable. You have shorter responses to it, you have less examples. And that's fine. Everybody has weaknesses, and it can be something that you can improve on. And in your answers, you can answer candidly about it and say, this is how I'm going to improve that into a strength. If we can go to the next slide. So this final slide, before we go on to program specific information, looks at what our successful applicants maybe wish they knew before they applied to our schemes. So the first point here is research Sky. Research the program, be clear why you're wanting to do this specific program. And hopefully our ex-interns are going to jump on in a bit and just talk through their experiences. You're already doing the right things. You're on this call, which is fantastic. That is already going above and beyond probably other applicants. So that is really good. You're learning about the program. But where you can also find things about Sky is obviously on the website. You can follow Sky on LinkedIn, maybe on other social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, just to gain a little bit more of an understanding of what Sky actually offers. Sky is much more than a TV company. It's much more than a TV satellite company. There's so many other products that it does offer, and you should be able to name those. The second point here is video responses. Dress smart, but be comfortable. In Sky, we have a dress code of smart casual. We allow people to sort of dress as they like really, to an extent. But I think going into interviews, it's better to err on the side of caution and be smarter. That's what I'd say. So a little bit of a tip there. The third one here is the speed of Sky, the speed of the company. In Sky, and I'm sure the ex-interns will point to this and maybe some examples, things move incredibly quickly. And you should have to hand examples for how you have demonstrated dealing with projects that have maybe sped along very quickly, whether that's through school, whether that's through higher education, whether that's through work you've already done. Sky moves really quickly, so expect to deal with those sort of questions. Passion is a fourth one we've got there. Be passionate, be enthusiastic. Why are you applying to Sky, not Virgin Media? Why are you applying to Sky, not O2? Why are you applying to the media sector of early careers rather than investment banking? These are all things you should have at your fingertips ready to go. And getting down to the final 2 points, that fifth point is about shoehorning answers. You're going to have a lot of questions through this application process thrown at you. What you shouldn't do is have answers pre-prepared, because it will come across as ingenuine, and there is no way you'll be able to shoehorn those pre-prepared answers into the questions we ask. So we ask that when you do answer questions, it's a little bit more natural. You have a bank of examples ready, but try and answer as naturally as possible. What we're aiming through this application process is we're aiming to really have a look at your personality, and it's really crucial that you ensure your personality gets through in your answers. And finally, on a really nice touch to end this slide, is don't let your education limit you. Just because you haven't done ABC doesn't mean you can't apply. The only condition to applying to an internship is that you are in your penultimate year of university at undergrad level. It doesn't matter what you've got at A level. It doesn't matter what you've got at GCSE. It doesn't matter what you're on track for at university or the course. Okay, so don't let that limit you. Right, that's the end of the application processes, all our tips. We're now going to move on to the internships and going into a little bit more detail on all of our programs. So I'm going to now pass across to Millie, who's going to speak around our finance internship first of all.
Yeah, thank you. So the finance internship will start at the start of July 2024. It will be 8 weeks. You get involved with lots of key projects. I am going to let Adam speak on this, if you don't mind. I'm going to rope you in, Adam, just because obviously he's lived that internship. So yeah, let us know about your experience, Adam.
Hello everybody, it's lovely to be here. So the way that the finance internship works is that you get put into an individual finance team, and there's somewhere between 20 and 30 different finance teams. You get allocated to one of them, and that's where you spend most of your time day to day. I specifically got put in the supply chain team for my internship. This covers everything from like sourcing raw materials, manufacturing costs, for all of Sky's products. So I got very involved in looking at mobile stock, unit costs for individual Sky products. So I got really involved in everything there. That's takes up maybe 3 of your 5 days a week. The other 2, you actually do an intern project with the other interns. So you might be in a specific team, but you still get time with all of the other interns as well, which is fantastic. And in that, you get given a project to do. And my one was on like, what should the pricing strategy for Sky be? And then we got to present that to heads of finance, who are very senior stakeholders within the finance team, and they give you feedback on how your work has been. So you do get a lot of senior exposure, which is something that's really, really beneficial for you. You get taught everything along the way. You get fully integrated into the team. Everyone is super, super welcoming, and it's just a fantastic, fantastic experience. And then a couple of months after the internship, some of us got job offers straight onto the grad scheme and didn't have to do anything else after that, which was also really, really beneficial. And we're still friends to this day. So it was a fantastic 8 weeks that I had interning at Sky. Anything else, Millie, that I should touch on for finance?
No, I think you've covered everything perfectly. Thank you.
Fab.
I am going to pass back over to Tom now to talk about the corporate internships.
Fantastic. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Millie. So with our corporate internships, what I'm going to quickly do is just provide a little bit of context, because we offer 4 corporate internships, and from the sort of exterior, they may look like they're all quite similar. So I'm just going to provide a little bit of a context to this. As Adam sort of rightly mentioned, with our internships, if you are successful, you do get the opportunity to move on to various graduate schemes. Now, the graduate scheme we have in mind for our corporate internships is our business strategy program, and that is fundamentally made up of 4 key roles: trading, propositions, commercial, and marketing. You'll notice from, or if you've done your research at the moment, and I presume you have being on this call, that we have a commercial and marketing internship. So they are 2 of the roles you will likely undertake on your graduate scheme. We don't offer trading or propositions internships, but it's just a kind of an indication of what we do offer in our internships. And you can also see a little bit of a description on the screen now around commercial and around marketing and what the difference is. And I think particularly when we come to commercial, and Milana talks about that, it'll be interesting for you guys all to hear what commercial actually is, because I think for a lot of people, it's quite difficult to understand what a commercial role is compared to a marketing role on the surface. Millie, if we can go to the next slide. Great. So as I mentioned, we have 4 business internships, and we're going to run through them one by one when we get to the next slide. But they are commercial, marketing, corporate affairs, and group strategy. They're all 8 weeks, and you will spend 8 weeks in a particular team in all these respective departments. If we can go to the next slide. Great. So what we're going to do in this slide is I'm just going to quickly run through what's on screen, and then I'll be passing to our interns to do a bit of an introduction of themselves, what they experienced, and maybe some examples of projects that they did do. So firstly, touching on our commercial scheme, this is 8-week internship. It's mostly in our commercial and trading teams that you'll get a placement, and past placements have been Sky Store commercial, Now commercial, and a trading role in Sky Glass. But what I am going to do is I'm going to ask Milana to talk a little bit through her experiences. So Milana, maybe if you can unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and talk through your experiences on the commercial scheme.
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone, I'm Milana, and as Tom mentioned, I was on the commercial internship. So the team that I was placed in was Sky Mobile propositions, and I think it's worth noting, I think commercial, the word in itself, can be quite confusing, and that's actually one of the reasons why I chose to apply for this internship, because marketing, I had a pretty good idea of, you know, what that entailed, but commercial just felt so alien. So yeah, I was in the Sky Mobile props team. So kind of looking at new propositions, new ways that we can innovate Sky Mobile against other competitors and other mobile providers, which was super, super interesting. And similarly to Adam, I had a great experience. The team was super welcoming. They really do guide you through everything. I came from an English and Spanish background at uni, so I had absolutely no idea what I was doing going into it. But my manager was super helpful. The whole team are amazing. And yeah, there's as I can see here, so there's a few different placements for you guys on your internship, but there's loads of interns that you're kind of coming into the business alongside. So you never really feel like you're on your own. So alongside stuff that I worked on specifically in the mobile props team, there were intern projects. There was like a mobile specific intern project for all the interns within mobile. So it was a great experience, and definitely now coming back to Sky after having done the internship, I think it was really really beneficial. You know, you like maintain those relationships with people that you meet, and just learning something new and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Like I said, commercial can mean so many different things, so I think you really do need to experience it to figure out whether it's something you enjoy and you want to carry on with in the future. So yeah.
Thanks so much, Milana. So that's our commercial internship program. The other internship program we offer, so the second column you can see is our marketing one. Again, this is 8 weeks in a marketing team. The sort of roles you might get are VIP marketing, mobile marketing, working on our cinema team. We don't have an ex-intern on the call today, but it will be a very similar experience to sort of what Milana has described, but just on a marketing role. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to our third column, which is corporate affairs. Now, our third and fourth column, corporate affairs and strategy, you will have noticed in that contextual slide that you probably didn't see that there. And it's because these two are different departments that sit outside our traditional functions that are on our business strategy graduate program, which this leads to. So that's a bit of context there. Our corporate affairs internship is an 8-week one again, sitting in that department. And the role sits in our bigger picture team where there's various roles you could undertake. What I am going to do is pass over to Melody, who's on call, who did take part in our corporate affairs internship, and she can tell you a little bit more about the department, everything it does. So Melody, over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Yeah, as Tom said, I did the corporate affairs internship. Very similar to the others, you just get put in a specific team. So I was actually put in the public affairs and policy team. So although these placements are going to be in bigger picture, hopefully I can still kind of give a quick overview of how the corporate affairs department works and just about the intern experience in general. Similar to Milana, I came from an English background, so again, was very much coming into it, not knowing anything, first corporate experience, but the support is just amazing. And the team that I was in was just so supportive and really like talked me through everything that I was doing. And I didn't feel like
I was overwhelmed with like the tasks and the projects I was given at all. But it was a really exciting time to be doing what I was doing. So in terms of highlights, I was able to go to the House of the Dragon premiere, which was great. And I also found that in the corporate affairs department, like just like how it is with Sky, it's such a big place. So you work with so many different teams. And so I was also able to kind of learn about different departments at the same time. And another thing that I worked on is I was able to work with Sky Arts quite a bit, which was great to help like prepare for their lounges that they do with the public affairs team. And I am going into a bigger picture role in my next rotation on the grad scheme that I'm on right now. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, it was great.
Fantastic. Thank you, Melody. And then our final scheme on this slide is our strategy internship. So our strategy team is like Sky's in-house consultancy. But what I'm going to do is we've got two ex-interns from strategy, Abby and Lucy. So what I'm going to do is I'll pass over to Lucy first. Lucy, you can tell us about your experiences, and then you can pass over to Abby, who can also share her experiences as well.
Sure. Hi everyone. So as Tom mentioned, Abby and I were both did the group strategy internship. So in different way to the others, in strategy you're just placed in one team and you're placed with other interns as well, which is really nice. So there were 4 of us together doing the internship. And so like Tom mentioned, the strategy team is basically in-house consulting. So you're looking at potential new opportunities for Sky, monitoring of competitors, and also the team gets involved in the purchasing and the auctions for sports rights. So the team sits across the UK and Ireland, Germany and Italy. So you get some cross-market exposure, which is all super interesting. So while I was in the team, I did a lot of competitor analysis and reporting. So we looked at each companies often give out quarterly updates. So looking at how the competitors were doing, what was coming new for them and how that might affect our business. We also did some group project and an individual project. So for a group project, we looked into deep dives of like Amazon Prime Video, Netflix and Disney Plus, and what sort of things were driving signups for them. And individual project, we could basically decide what we wanted to do, which was really nice because we got to present that back to the team at the end. So it meant that we could really take our interests and explore that, which was all super great. But yeah, we had lots of senior exposure with our presenting, so it was really good experience and I feel like I learned a lot. But I'll pass it over to Abby so she can add what she had.
Yeah, hi everyone. So obviously Lucy did quite a good summary there. It's a really, really good internship. I think if you want to push yourself on things like presenting and stuff like that, Lucy and I were presenting every week in team meetings, and then we had to present multiple times throughout the internship, which seems really scary at the start when you're sat with some quite senior people in Sky, but it's definitely a really, really good experience. In terms of work, Lucy pretty much explained it all, but yeah, we monitored like Disney, Apple, Warner Bros, stuff like that. And then individual project, we all did completely different things. So I looked at women's football and kind of the pathway from grassroots to the Women's Super League and how Sky could potentially like help in this space. Lucy looked at a French like streaming TV service. So I think it's a really good team to not only get that, like cross-country exposure, but also you get to explore every part of the business.
Amazing. Thanks, guys. So heading over to, I believe this might be our final slide before we go into our Q&A. This is just a bit on application deadlines. So I'll run through the 4 corporate ones and then might just pass to Millie for the finance one to talk through that. So just bringing your attention to strategy and corporate affairs, we're going to be running our assessment centres next month. So if you have heard about it on this call and you're really keen on strategy and corporate affairs, you will need to apply quite quickly now and get that moving. I would say by sort of the end of the week, you need to kind of get your application in. So please do that if that's of interest to you and get moving with those applications. I should say all of these are live. So if you go to the Sky Early Careers page, I think I saw a question about that. They're all live. You can go apply right now and I encourage you to do so. The commercial and marketing schemes, they close at early December, and our assessment centres won't run until January, February time. So you've got a little bit more time if you're applying to commercial or marketing. I would say with all our pipelines and all of our internships, there's a line that says it may close early. So you have to bear that in mind. So I'd say, to be honest, my advice to all of you on the call is if you are interested, definitely get your application in as soon as possible, because these are really popular internships, as you can imagine. So do get your application in. Millie, over to you just to speak around finance and the application timelines there.
Yeah, so exactly the same as commercial and marketing. It is, we say that it's going to close early December. It might close a little sooner. So again, just make sure you're getting your applications in. I did just want to mention that our system only allows you to apply for one internship at a time. So please, like, obviously make sure, again, me and the research word, but please make sure you're doing the research as what scheme you do want to apply for, just because obviously you want to make sure you're applying for the right one. So yeah, just wanted to make a note of that. But yeah, all good. Anything else, Tom, that you wanted to add?
No, fantastic. I think we can move forward to our Q&A section.
Yep.
Okay, brilliant. So you can see everyone's faces up there who've spoken. You can see their roles as well. What we'll do in this Q&A section is myself and Millie will sort of chair it. We'll look at any questions that are coming up on screen. We'll read them out and we will direct them to the appropriate person, whether that is ourselves asking or one of our lovely interns. So let's just kind of go through our questions now. So please do put your questions in if you have any. I think I've answered the first one, sort of applications. So I'll delete that.
There's one here, where would the internship be based? Mine are all based in Osterley. Tom, just keep me right. They're all Osterley, aren't they? All London.
Osterley based, yeah. So Osterley, if you're not aware, is West London. It's Brentford Way near Heathrow, or getting that sort of way. Okay, interesting question. So the Millie might be one for yourself. It says, say if I wanted to have some legal experience within Sky, are there any other additions to the assessment process, or is that just for finance?
Just for finance. I don't think there are any additional stages for any of the others. I think so.
Okay. Fabulous. Guys, we are reading and trying to read these out at the same time, so I apologise if there's a delay in communication. Okay, this is an interesting one. Will Sky provide any media, TV and film related internship opportunities? When will the application open? Thank you. So as you've heard from our interns, a lot of this this session is all about sort of our corporate internships. In terms of TV and film, that's something to just keep your eye on the website about at the moment. If I'm honest, Sky is always looking for to put forward new programs, but I think if that's where you're sort of looking, it's probably worth keeping an eye out. The other thing to look at is entry-level roles are normally titled an executive, so something executive. So you could also look at going into an entry-level role, or even work experience. If you do know somebody, you could try and get some work experience and go via that route. But at the moment, this is just sort of about corporate internships. Okay, interesting one, and I'm going to direct this by our team. So how many interns did you have last year, please? So how we're going to answer this is probably just go to each team and just talk through how many interns were in your specific cohorts. Abby, do you want to just say how many interns were with you on strategy?
Yeah, there were 4 of us in group strategy. Yeah.
Fab. Milana, how many with commercial?
Great question. I believe it was, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 10 commercial and 10 marketing, I think.
Yeah. And then Adam?
So there were 8 of us when I did the internship, and then 4 of us moved on to the grad scheme.
And finally, Melody?
I believe there were 6 of us in the corporate affairs internship.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So there's obviously lots of numbers there. You do join with other people at the same time. I guess the caveat from myself and Millie with this is our numbers do vary from year to year, just depending on situations. So we can't tell you exactly how many numbers this year, but you can see from sort of previous years of the guys on the call that there are definitely people that join each scheme with them. So it's a good question.
There's a question here saying, during the final selection process, do you consider all scores, or do you just go off basically the assessment centre scores? We do just go off the assessment centre. Just wanted to clear that up. So yeah, just the assessment centre. We don't combine all your application scores. It's just how you did on the assessment centre.
Great. Yeah, a question around, I think we covered this. Can a business management student apply for marketing internship? Yes, you heard from Milana, I think, I'm trying to think, was it Melody as well? English background. It doesn't matter what degree you've done. It doesn't matter for us. You can apply to whatever kind of piques your interest. And that's what these internships are all about.
After you complete each assessment, so for the applications, once you've completed, whether it's the kind of digital assessment or the job sim, we normally say please wait just between 10 to 14 days just to hear back. If you haven't heard back in over kind of 2 weeks, then I'd suggest emailing the earlycareers@sky.uk email address, and then we can have a look at your application. But yeah, please bear with us for about 2 weeks after you've applied and you've completed the first one.
A couple of questions around the strategy internship, around sort of timelines. Look, all these internships are really competitive, and strategy has been no less competitive this year. There's been a huge amount of applications. And as with all our pipelines, it says on the website that these can close sort of at any point. If we do have that as a case, and they can close early, strategy is going to be one of those this year. So that's just something to bear in mind. So if you're keen, do apply as quick as you can. Just kind of linking to that with a question around what backgrounds do the interns come from, and do we need prior experience of this? Abby, Lucy, passing over to you just about sort of your background and maybe how you fit in on the sort of strategy internship. Could you answer that a little bit, whether it was easy or whether it was a little bit more difficult?
Yeah, so I did global sustainable development at Warwick, so completely on strategy related.
I'm not sure if Abby might have cut out.
I think Abby's cut out. So Lucy, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, so I studied French and Spanish at university. So again, not strategy related at all, but you get a lot of support and training when you're starting. So we had like Excel training, PowerPoint training, and generally your manager, we had a lot of people we could go to help us out. So that was really good. And I think the other 2 interns, one of them did economics. But yeah, generally, like you can apply for strategy from any degree background, and it won't put you at a disadvantage if you're not from anything strategy related or business related.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Lucy.
There are quite a few questions about data science that I've seen. Data science doesn't sit within tech. It does sit under data and analytics, so it does sit under myself. We've only recently just gone live with the data science internship, but it was a kind of new decision, so it's only just gone live. We're hosting a similar kind of webinar on Friday for all the data, kind of the data science and data analytics. So if you are interested in joining and you're interested in applying for data science, please can I ask that you email the earlycareers@sky.uk email, and they'll be able to send you the link for the Friday call, and then I can go through everything data science then.
Got a question, I think it's from Phoebe. What is your biggest piece of advice for preparing for an online assessment? Milana, could I go over to you if you can recall how you prepared? Maybe get some advice on that front.
Yeah, sure. I think the biggest thing probably is to do loads of research about Sky as a business, and just have all that knowledge kind of in your back pocket, so that if you do get asked anything, you're not thinking about it on the spot, and you're more kind of just relaxed, and you can answer questions in an authentic way. And I think we said earlier, Sky is super fast paced and like it's changing all the time. So being really up to date on the latest products that they have coming out. And I think just generally being yourself. I think that from being at Sky now, from the internship and onto the grad scheme, they do just recruit super nice, super friendly people. So I think just trying to be as authentically yourself in the interview process or in the online video assessments is super important. But yeah, I think having all that knowledge prepared in advance so that you can really relax when it comes to your interviews is probably the most important thing, I'd say.
Amazing. And sort of building on that, there's a question around what's your best advice for preparing for the assessment centre? So I'm going to go over to Melody this time to maybe answer that one.
Yeah, I think, well, is the assessment centre still online? Or
Yeah, still online.
Yeah. I think a big part of it is just try to like stay relaxed throughout the whole day and make sure that you kind of, as much as then Milana said, prepared your research for Sky as a business, but also kind of make sure that you've prepared your research on yourself and you know how to like bring across your passion for the internship and why you want the role, and specifically the specific team or one that you're going for, and how like your own skills and your own background can relate to that. And then I feel like linking that in with then your knowledge of the business and how much you actually love Sky as a company, that combination I think was the two things that I think that led me to being successful, because I was able to show that I was really enthusiastic like throughout the whole assessment day, like in all the interviews, but whilst also being able to show why I was a good candidate for the role as well.
Amazing. I've got one question that I'll just quickly take. Question is this internship opportunity only available for the undergrad students or both undergrad and postgraduate students in their final year? It is only available to undergraduate students in their penultimate year of academic study, so undergrad students in penultimate year. And to that ilk, another sort of very admin-y question: are there any internships like this which will be available in Scotland, or they're normally based in London? At the moment, our internships are based in our Osterley campus in London. That's not to say internships won't become available in Scotland, but at the moment they are just London bound. Let's see if we've got any more. Do we have to attend the college while doing our internship? Yes, you should be in that penultimate year. So you should then have one more year of university left. That is one of the requirements of our internships. Are there any more questions about maybe the schemes that we can direct to our interns on call? As you've got them here, this might be a really, really useful insight into those particular schemes, and you can hear firsthand. So are there any more questions over those? Doesn't seem to be, guys. Doesn't seem to be. Oh, actually, there is one. One has just come in. Tips for assessments for the finance internship. So, Adam, over to you.
So I was actually, when I received my offer, I asked for feedback, and they said that what was specifically lacking was my finance knowledge, which shows that you don't, if like having some finance knowledge is important, but like, it's not the most important thing. That's something that they just want to find out the right kind of candidates who think the right way about problems. So your deep finance knowledge isn't essential. I would just echo what everyone else said about is your personality and how you engage other people. I remember on my assessment centre, it was the people who were most engaged in all the discussions. I remember thinking, they seem like really like good candidates, and it was all of those people that ended up getting the internship, and it was the correlation between the two was astonishing. So just be yourself, be really engaged, know as much as you can about the company. I did a deep dive into Sky Sports when I was researching, and it was that knowledge and enthusiasm for the company that was what set me apart, I was told, and not my finance knowledge. So yeah, it's understanding the company and just being really engaged on the day.
Amazing. That seems like a fantastic point to end at, because I can't see any more questions. Oh, no, one has come in. I say this, and questions keep coming in last minute. So, question for any of the graduates: why did you pick Sky? This is a good one. Why did you pick Sky over anyone else in the industry? Abby, you cut out through your answer last time, so I am going to pass over to you to answer this one.
I applied to Sky because they cover so many different categories, right? You've got Sky Sport and Sky News that everyone knows about, but there is so much more to Sky than that. You've got the mobile team, the broadband team. They're also really a company that care, and I think that's so important when you're looking at where you potentially want to end up working, right? Everyone at Sky is super friendly. The campus is amazing. You get to do really, really interesting work. They really invest in you and your personal development. And I think that is something really to look at. It's really important to be interested and engaged in your work that you're doing, but it's also really important to feel like you're in a really environment where you can thrive. And I think Sky is just a really cool company for stuff like that.
Amazing. I don't see any more questions. Millie, can you see any more questions on the chat at this moment in time?
No.
Okay, perfect. So in that case, we will wrap up there. Just want to say a huge thank you to all our ex-interns who've joined on this call. Now on our graduate schemes, so you can see the pathway there. They are shining lights of where you can get to in a few years' time. Thank you for joining the call as well. I hope you've learned a lot. If you do have any further questions, can I direct you to earlycareers@sky.uk? You can email our early careers inbox and we will get back to you in a few working days. But sort of without further ado, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and thanks so much for joining this call.
Thank you.
Thank you.